Welcome to the weekly Pacent test video. On this next screen, you're going to see all of the start times of the problems, so you can just fast forward to the problems that you want to look at. All right, here we come with this week's video. So here we are with the week 11 test. You're going to go through and correct this. I would suggest you listen to the explanation and then pause the video to do any note-taking you need to do. So on the first problem, we need to create two fractions, ratios, in fraction form. We create one right here for the total amount of the pineapple compared to the total amount of the entire punch, 9 to 14. We create another right here, the orange juice to the total, 5 to 14. So then question A is, if he wants to make just 1 liter of punch, how much pineapple will he need? So the how much pineapple will he need becomes the X, becomes the unknown. This right here, how many liters of pineapple juice is the X, is the unknown. So our new ratio is 9 to 12. And it's equal to x to 1. That's our proportion. We solve by cross multiplying the 9 times the 1, 9 times the 1, the 14 times the x. We get 9x, or excuse me, we get 9 is equal to 14x, right down here. Divide everything by 14 because it's the coefficient. And your answer could either be expressed as 9 over 14 or it could be expressed as 0.6. And that was rounded. This is what it was rounded from. It was rounded from 0.64. If you left 0.64, give yourself credit. The second part of this, the orange juice, same idea. We had 5 to 14. Scroll this a little bit. We had 5 to 14 is the original amount of orange juice in the original amount of punch. X over 1 is the amount of orange juice in 1 liter of punch. Cross multiply the 5 times the 1, the 14 times the x, get 5 equals 14x. Divide by 14, still the coefficient. And you can express your answer either as 5/14 or as 0.4. That was rounded from 0.35. If you had 0.35, give yourself credit. Okay, on to problem 2. So in problem 2, the question asks you to look at the amount of weight applied and the amount of distance that a spring stretches and find a constant of variation. So we first need to decide which is the independent and which is the dependent. And the independent is the weight. That's the cause. The dependent is the effect, and that's how much the spring is stretching. The weight causes the spring to stretch, not the other way around. So we're going to use this formula which is dependent divided by independent. That's how we find our constant of variation. So we can pick several of these. We'll pick the dependent 7 divided by the independent 2 right down here. 7 divided by 2, 3.5. The dependent 21 divided by the independent 6 right over here. 21 divided by 6, 3.5. The dependent 35 divided by the independent 10 right over here, 3.5. If you did it backwards, if you got 0.28 or maybe rounded to 0.3, that's because you divided backwards. You did the 2 divided by the 7 instead of the 7 divided by the 2. Then in part B, it asks us to write a formula. If you were given the weight, could you find the distance the spring stretches? And the answer is, you would take the weight, you would multiply it by the constant of variation, 3.5. That would give you the distance. So you can write it as W times 3.5 equals D, or you can write it as 3.5 W equals D. On to problem number 3. So they give us the floor in Julia's current kitchen, 24 by 24, and they show us the pattern. And then she wants to use the same pattern to do an 18 by 18. How many black tiles would she need? Well, since there are 8 tiles across on 24. We know each tile is 3 feet in size. If each tile is 3 feet, then to get 18 by 18, we would need 6 by 6. So we outline the 6 by 6, and we can count the tiles. Once you outline the 6 by 6, and by the way, it doesn't matter where you move that 6 by 6. Wouldn't matter if you drew the 6 by 6 over on this side. Let's just do our 6 by 6 from right here. 6 by 6, 2, 4, 6, and 6 over. That would give you the same thing. If you took that 6 by 6 and you moved it up here, you'd still, no matter where you move it, you're going to end up with 9 black tiles. So it doesn't matter where the 6 by 6 goes. You get 9 black tiles. Now, another way to look at that is there are 16 black tiles out of 64 total, if we're thinking of this as a ratio. So a 6 by 6 would be 36 total. That would be 9 black tiles. Then to get the white tiles, you just take the 36 that were total, take away the 9 that are black, you get 27 white tiles. Okay, on to the back. So number 4, this is not a proportional relationship. We plot our points, make sure, here's grape juice on the bottom, says so right there, it says apple juice up the side. We plot our points, and we can see that the first 3 points make a nice straight line, and then it starts dropping off. These points are not on the line. Since they are not on the line, it's not a proportional relationship. Also, if we pick 2 of these ratios, points that don't work, so I picked 3 over 2, and I picked 10 over 8, and you can see they're not the same. If you simplify those down, 10 over 8 simplifies to 5 over 4. As decimals, 3 over 2 is 1.5, 10 over 8 is 1.25. They are not the same. All right, on to problem number 5. So on number 5, here's your work. Do the rainbows, that's the distributive property. 4x plus 24 equals 56. Take away the 24. 4x equals 32. Divide by 4 the coefficient. X is not minus 8. I didn't get the last part of that in. X is equal to 8. There we go. And we could check it. We could put 8 in. 8 plus 6 is 14. 4 times 14, 56. Problem number 6. So Mike has 3 bags of lollipops. I do like my lollipops. 3 bags of lollipops. 3 bags. So the 3 becomes the outside right there. 3 goes outside of our parentheses. Each bag has some blow pops. That's the unknown. That's the X. And 6 Tootsie Pops. There are the 6 Tootsie Pops. Combined, they have a total of 39. So equals 39. Now we're going to solve it just like we solved 5. 3 times x, 3 times 6. So we have 3x plus 18 equals 39. Take away the 18. Trying to get the x by itself, so we need to get rid of all the other numbers. We get 3x equals 21. We divide by 3. Since that's the coefficient, we get x equals 7. 7 blow pops. And if we went back and added this in, we'd have 7 plus 6, which is 13. 13 times 3 would give us 39. All right, last problem. So we've got this figure, and we're asked to find the measure of angle A and the measure of angle B. Well, angle A is 140 degrees. We know that because this arc right here on a straight line, this shows 180. Take away the 40. Here's my work. 180, take away the 40, and you get 140 left over. Now, to get angle B, now that we know the 140 and the 20 would be 160, and 180 take away the 160, and it's the work I did over here. Let me do it just a little bit differently. Let me do it the way I'm saying it. 180 take away the 160 would be 20 left. That's my 20. So the first one is supplementary angles, and the second right here is that idea that triangles have to total 180 degrees. All right, pause, take whatever notes you need to take. And now we're back to the problem on the very bottom. C is the answer that's correct. The question is which one is not equivalent. So if you picked A, B, or D, you picked an equivalent. C is not equivalent. It is 24x, negative 4 times negative 6x. But it's not 18, it is 24. All right, there you go. Review anything you need to review. And if you have extra questions, come back to class and ask.